Tonight on Crime Scenes, we are discussing the case of Barnaby Bubbles Clark. Barnaby Clark, or as many people call him, Bubble, murdered 7 people before he was caught. We talked to his mother to ask what Mr. Clark was like as a child.
My son has always had problems. When he was in school, he would always get into fights, and he always had trouble making friends. When he was little, his father left, and I bought him a dog to keep him company, or to at least help him adapt to living without his father. Almost 3 days later, the dog went missing. My son, for those 3 days, was always with the dog, but after the dog went missing, he never talked about him again. He didn't make any comment to the fact that we never saw him. One day I asked him what happened to the puppy that we got him a few days before, and he said, "Oh, the puppy just wanted to go for a swim." And then I didn't really know how to react. I thought that maybe somebody else took him, but my son had the strangest face, like he was smiling when he told me that he went for a swim. I don't know, it was very strange. But then we started all noticing that there were fewer and fewer squirrels in the neighborhood, and our neighbor's cat disappeared suddenly. We had a forest nearby our house. It's still the same house that he grew up in, where he's living now, but he would always go in the forest, and I thought it was fine. But he would come back all scratched up, and I would just be curious as to why, and he would be like, very angrily, he would tell me that he was just a kid, and he's used to falling, and he was always making excuses. As he grew up, he never could hold a job, which was pretty frustrating. He's been living here as long as he's been alive, and he would bring different girls here every night, and that's really hard for a mother. It's very hard for a mother to see her son going through that, and he would never even be able to stay with the girl. They were just one-night stands. When I found out he was caught and put in an institution because of murdering people, I didn't really know how to react. I always knew that there was something wrong with my son, but I regret never doing anything about it.
One of the victims Mr. Clark attacked was his neighbor, Annabella Cartwright. She was the only victim to get away.
I've known Mr. Clark ever since I moved here 7 years ago. I never really thought about him very much, but I always thought that he was a little bit strange. He would just, whenever I would say hello to him while I went to my car or something like that, he would never answer me, and that was always a bit strange. One day I was going for a run in the forest like I do every day, and I saw a movement to my left. I stopped to see what it was, and I saw that Mr. Clark was just squatting there, and I couldn't see what he was doing. I took a step towards him, trying to see what he was doing, and I stepped on a pile of leaves. He turned around, and in one hand he had a knife, and in the other hand he was blowing bubbles. I didn't know what to do, so I just ran. I just bolted. I didn't even think. I looked back a few times and I saw he was chasing me too. I just kept running, and I didn't know. At one point I heard a gunshot. I felt a huge pain in my arm, and I kept running because I was so scared. And then I heard another gunshot and a yell behind me. Mr. Clark had shot himself in the leg, and I was able to get away. I ran back home, and I ran inside my house, and immediately I called 911 to try to get some kind of help because I didn't know what else to do. They caught Mr. Clark in the forest. He had maimed himself, and he couldn't get anywhere. And now he is in a mental institution.
Once Mr. Clark was caught, he had his first assessment to distinguish what type of mental affliction he had. We were lucky enough to get the recording of the first doctor's assessment on tape.
I'm going to ask you a few questions today. There have been some recent murders, and I wanted to ask if you know this person.
Oh yeah, she was running. That was fun.
What about this person?
Oh man, this one really put up a fight. This was really fun. Like, that was a great night.
Really?
Yes.
This one was our recent victim. Let's see if you know this person.
Waste of time. Really big waste of time.
Really?
Really.
What's that?
It was way too easy.
So you like a challenge?
Very much so.
I see. All the victims were found in the forest. Do you like going to the forest?
I like the trees there.
Why? Why pick the forest, not some other place?
I like the isolation there. It's nice to be alone.
How's your leg?
Well, I did shoot myself.
Speaking of shooting, our victims were found shot first and then stabbed. Why stab them when they were shot?
Well, shooting is way too quick. I like to have some fun. And I like to see the light dim from their eyes.
Do you know Annabella?
Yeah, she's my neighbor.
What would you say your relationship was with her?
She's my neighbor.
If you have no relationship, then why shoot her?
Well, I just explained to you 5 minutes ago that that was a really easy kill. And I wanted some fun. I mean, come on, I was on a roll. So, she was there. Decided to take advantage of that.
By our victim's hands, we found bubble wands. Do you care to explain it?
I like bubbles.
Explain to me why you chose these people. Why did you kill them? They're innocent.
Can I keep this one?
Dr. Novak was fired for being emotionally compromised. We caught up to her so she could explain why she couldn't continue evaluating Mr. Clark.
I just couldn't handle it. That man? No. That monster. He had no remorse at all for his victims. I hope he gets what he deserves.
The second doctor was more successful in her assessment of Mr. Clark.
I assessed Mr. Clark and put him on lithium carbonate, which is used to reduce anger and threatening behaviors. I diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder. Mr. Clark had a history of conduct problems in his youth. He has a history of being aggressive to others and animals. He was continuously in fights at school with other children. And I plan to make sure that he stays at this asylum for the rest of his life so he won't be able to harm other people like the way he did with the young ladies that he killed.
Mr. Clark is still in an institution today.